How does being an effective communicator result in the impact that brought us the 4th of July holiday? Well, I'm going to talk about 5 basic communication skills that the founders of the United States of America had to change the course of history, and how as a leader today, those same 5 basic principles apply to change management, apply to how we lead individuals, movements, big change movements, and how organizations today use those 5 principles as the foundation of how they communicate from a leadership perspective. You're not going to want to miss this. Stay with us. Welcome, everybody, to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Hey, everyone, it's John here. Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Thank you for joining us today. I've been in the leadership business for 15 plus years, developing training for leaders, mentoring and coaching leaders, and walking right beside you, the leaders, help others get to where they're going. If you like what you're hearing, please do me a favor, click on that subscribe button. It helps get this message out to as many people as we possibly can. We run this podcast ad-free, and by you subscribing, it helps us continue to bring this content. So as the 4th of July holiday is fast approaching, I always try to stay relevant. I always try to stay current. And I got to think about, what was it like if you were trying to change the course of history, much like the founders of the United States were, breaking away from England, uniting people, building trust. What did you need? What characteristics did those leaders have? And I boiled it down to around 5 basic characteristics that I believe the founders back then had that we still need in leadership to this day. The first one that we're going to talk about is clarity and vision. And from a leadership standpoint, that was my job for many, many years, was helping other leaders create clarity and vision. So you may ask, what's so important about this clarity? If you don't know where you're going, how do you know when you're going to get there? If you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get other people to follow you? Bottom line, have you been in an organization, and I've been in an organization myself, that lacked clarity and vision? And what did it feel like to me? It felt like we were going around and around and around in a circle. Doesn't mean great ideas weren't being generated. Doesn't mean that the best of the best were working for that organization. But what it boiled down to was we just felt like we were in this endless loop. We were coming up with great things, but never implementing great things, never getting anywhere. And that comes from a lack of clarity of vision. So as those leaders in the past created a very clear vision of our declaration of independence, we need to do that as leaders today. We need to declare where we are going, then be able to communicate that to others for them to follow. So the second one I'm going to talk about is inspiring freedom of thought. Back when this country was fighting for its independence, we didn't have a lot of freedom of thought. A lot of laws, a lot of policies were pushed down, the taxes, those types of things. In today's world, how do we inspire others to have that freedom of thought? Do you sit at the head of the table and are you a talking head? Or are you collaborative in your approach? Do you ask questions to gain clarity? Are you naturally curious? All those concepts that we talk about being a good leader, trying to understand the intent of others' responses rather than formulating a response before they even finish their sentence. That goes a long way with freedom of thought, with people feeling that they have the ability to come to the table, to come to you as a leader with thoughts that may be different than what you think, or may be different than what the current norm is. So that's very important as a leader. Inspire that freedom of thought. So the third one is building trust. And I have one word when it comes to building trust: transparency. What does transparency look like? As a leader, share the information that you can share. Make sure that you apologize whenever you make a mistake, and you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. That's being transparent. So building trust within the organization. Our founders had to build trust with the colonies that were over here during that period in order for us to unite and fight against the British Army. For leaders in today's world, if we are going to inspire others to follow our strategic direction, our vision, that comes with trust. And trust doesn't happen overnight. It's built over time. time. So as leaders, build trust. The fourth thing, empathy and understanding. Have empathy for others. Remember what it was like to onboard into a new organization. Remember what it was like to learn something new for the first time. Remember what it was like to be a new leader within an organization. Remember what it was like to be the new kid on the block. That's having empathy and then understanding that you need to act upon that as a leader. It's not just okay to recognize it, but you have to act upon it as a leader in order for that understanding to be appreciated. So empathy and understanding. And then fifth but not least, unify diverse perspectives. And that goes back to all of the four that we just talked about. In order to unify the different perspectives of our country, back when we had the Declaration of Independence, everybody had a seat at the table. We had to be open and honest. We had to be very transparent. We had to have trust. There was some relationship building. And then we had to have a leader that unified that diverse perspective in order to move in one direction. So today, as leaders, things are all over the place with the age of communication, the data at our fingertips, the internet. We have information overload coming to us, so that can provoke a diversity in thoughts. So the goal of building a team is to have that diversity of thoughts present within your team environment. From a leadership standpoint, we need to be able to unify those diversity of thoughts. Not everybody has to agree with the decision that is being made or the topic that's being talked about. We all have to have a common understanding that we need to move into a certain direction, and you, the leader, needs to be able to clearly articulate that vision, be able to get folks to trust you, to buy in, have full transparency, inspire that freedom of thought, that diversity of thought. But in the end, you have to create some unification in the direction. You can't have people pulling in opposite directions on your team. That's not going to get anywhere. It's going to create a lot of frustration. So one of the most important things that you can do to create that unification is through your inspiration and your clarity and vision. I think those two pieces go a long way with unifying people, especially when not everybody agrees on the direction that you're taking, but they can get on board with the vision that you have for the organization. So as we look at this 4th of July holiday and we break down those 5 principles, clarity and vision, inspire freedom of thought, making sure we're building trust through transparency, empathy and understanding, and last but not least, the unification of those diverse perspectives are going to create teams in environments that people want to work for, that people want to be a part of, just like our founders created an environment to get us to the point today. So as we move into the 4th of July holiday, remember those 5 principles that we talked about and how we share. We're not too different than the leaders that got us to this point where we can celebrate the 4th of July and those that took the ultimate sacrifice to ensure that we continue to enjoy the 4th of July. Thank you to them. Thank you to being you as a leader. Continue on down that journey. You're only getting better. I appreciate you listening to the podcast. Make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure you're following. Make sure that you listen to some other episodes within this season of communication, because we're going to unpack everything that you need to know as a young, new leader or a seasoned leader in an organization. Be a better communicator so you can be a better leader. Go be great. We'll talk to everyone later. Bye. If you enjoy what you're hearing, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps us get others to where they're going.